You might think your automatic car is built to handle anything you throw at it, but the truth is, many drivers are quietly destroying their transmissions without even realizing it. From small, harmless-looking habits to outright driving mistakes, these errors can shave years off your gearbox's life and lead to repair bills that cost more than the car is worth. Automatic transmissions are mechanical marvels packed with precision parts, hydraulic systems, and computer controls that need to work together flawlessly. But treat them wrong even once in a while and you could be setting off a slow, expensive chain reaction. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the biggest mistakes you should never make in an automatic car, and why avoiding them will save you thousands. And before we dive in, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss our no-nonsense car care tips that keep your ride running for years. Number 1. Don't shift from drive to reverse or vice versa without stopping. Now, one of the fastest ways to ruin an automatic transmission is shifting between drive and reverse while the car is still rolling. I know it might seem harmless, maybe you're doing a quick 3-point turn or just rushing to park, but here's what actually happens inside. In an automatic gearbox, gear changes aren't just mechanical. They rely on hydraulic pressure, clutch packs, and planetary gear sets that need to synchronize. When you slam from drive to reverse, or the other way around without stopping, you're forcing those components to abruptly change direction while still under load. And this creates a violent internal shock. The transmission's clutches and bands can glaze or snap, the torque converter can suffer, and the sudden pressure spike can even damage seals, leading to leaks and overheating later on. In the short term, you might just hear a loud clunk or feel a jolt, but over time, these shocks weaken the parts, and instead of a smooth shift, you'll get hesitation, slipping, or grinding. All early signs of costly failure. Pro tip: always come to a complete stop before shifting between forward and reverse gears. Even if it costs you just a couple extra seconds, it can add years to your transmission's life. If you drive on icy or muddy terrain and need to rock the car free, do it slowly, letting the transmission fully engage each gear before switching. This one habit change can easily save you $3,000 to $6,000 in rebuild costs down the road. Number 2. Don't neutral drop or rev before shifting into drive. I get it might look cool in the movies, revving up the engine in neutral and then slamming the shifter into drive. But in real life, it's just a transmission killer. This is called a neutral drop, and it's one of the fastest ways to send your gearbox to an early grave. When you rev the engine in neutral, the transmission's internal parts aren't under any load yet. But the moment you do drop it into drive, the sudden engagement sends a massive torque shock through the clutches, bands, and planetary gears. It's like launching a roller coaster with no warm-up. All that force just hits instantly. And the result? Burned clutch packs from the sudden friction, damaged input shafts that weren't designed for that instant shock, stress fractures, and gear teeth over time. Even doing it just once can shave years off your transmission's life, especially in older vehicles where the fluid isn't fresh and the parts are already worn. Pro tip: if you want a stronger takeoff, keep your foot on the brake in drive, then accelerate gently from a stop. Transmission components like gradual engagement, not violent drag race style launches. Number 3. Don't coast in neutral downhill. Now, some drivers think that coasting downhill in neutral saves fuel, and I get why they'd think that, but in reality, it's a pretty bad habit for both safety and your transmission's health. Modern fuel-injected engines already cut fuel delivery when you coast in gear, so putting it in neutral doesn't actually save you any gas. Instead, it's just removing your ability to use engine braking, forcing your brakes to do all the work. And that extra heat can actually cause brake fade, longer stopping distances, and pretty dangerous situations, especially on steep grades. From a transmission perspective though, constantly disengaging and re-engaging drive puts extra wear on the parking pole, clutch packs, and linkage. If you accidentally shift past neutral into reverse or park while rolling, well, the damage can be catastrophic. Also, in some cars, prolonged coasting in neutral can reduce lubrication inside the transmission. Automatic transmissions pump fluid based on engine RPM and gear engagement. So in neutral, fluid flow can be reduced, especially in older designs, meaning that critical components get less cooling and lubrication right when they might be under stress from braking or downhill speed. Pro tip: keep your car in gear when descending hills. Just use a lower gear if needed for engine braking. Your transmission will thank you, and you'll keep full control of your speed. Number 4. Don't rest your hand on the gear selector. I know, I get it might feel natural to keep your hand down there on the shifter while you're driving, especially if you learned on a manual. But in an automatic, that is a silent wear and tear move. Inside the gear selector assembly, your shift lever is linked to rods, dentants, and bushings that control the transmission's gear engagement. Even the slightest pressure of your hand can apply small but constant force to these components. And over time, that pressure can cause premature wear of the shift linkage bushings, loosen dentants that make the lever feel sloppy, and in rare cases, micro movements that confuse electronic position sensors. But there's still more. On some vehicles, resting your hand can transfer vibration into the mechanism, which isn't designed for constant load. It's kind of like leaning on a light switch all the time. Eventually, it's gonna fail. Pro tip: keep both hands on the wheel instead. Not only does it protect your transmission hardware, but it also keeps you in the safest position to react to sudden hazards. Think of the gear selector as a touch-only-when-needed control, not an armrest. Number 5. Don't shift to park before fully stopping. Now, shifting into park before the car is completely stationary is one of the quickest ways to wreck the parking pawl. The small metal pin that locks your transmission in place. When you slide into park while you're still rolling, that pawl slams against a rotating gear inside the transmission. The forces involved are huge, and instead of smoothly engaging, it can chip, bend, or shear the pawl. And if that happens, then your car might roll away even when in park. Damage signs include a loud clunk when you engage park, a slight roll before the pawl catches, and park not holding on inclines. Even if the pawl does survive, the internal gear teeth can suffer stress crack that eventually fail under normal use. Here's a pro tip: always bring the car to a complete stop and use the brakes before selecting park. On steep inclines, set the parking brake first. This takes weight off the pawl entirely, making it last longer and keeping your transmission stress-free. Number 6. Don't keep it in drive while stationary for long periods. Have you been sitting at a red light for 30 seconds with the car just in drive? No big deal. But idling in drive for several minutes, say at a long train crossing or in heavy traffic, well, it's slowly cooking your transmission fluid. Here's why. When you're in drive, your torque converter is constantly trying to transmit power from the engine to the wheels, but your brakes are holding the car still. This creates heat and internal pressure inside the transmission. Over short periods, that's normal and accounted for in design, but over extended waits, the fluid temperature rises unnecessarily, which breaks down transmission fluid faster, accelerates wear on seats and clutches, and increases fuel consumption. For modern automatics, heat is the enemy. Most transmission failures are heat-related. Pro tip: if you expect to be stopped for more than a minute, shift into neutral, or park if safe, and hold the brake. This allows the torque converter to relax, reducing heat and internal strain. On newer vehicles with automatic stop/start systems, letting them work as intended can also help. Just avoid disabling them out of habit unless necessary. Remember, transmissions aren't cheap. Spending 3 seconds to shift can save you thousands in repairs down the road. Number 7. Avoid launching and aggressive driving. Now, your automatic transmission was built for smooth, controlled power delivery, not drag strip theatrics. When you floor it from a standstill, attempt to catch up launch at highway speeds, or peel out from a red light, you're just asking the transmission to instantly transfer massive torque through the clutches and gears. This spike in stress and heat is brutal on the internal components. The transmission fluid, which normally keeps everything cool and lubricated, can overheat within seconds during hard launches. Hot fluid loses viscosity, meaning it can't protect the moving parts as effectively, and over time this leads to burnt clutch packs, warped bands, and even torque converter damage. Aggressive driving also triggers harsher shifts from the transmission's control system. The clutches engage with more force, and the constant shock loading can chip gear teeth or damage seals. The better way? Use steady throttle modulation. Ease into acceleration instead of stomping the pedal. If you need quicker power, like merging onto a highway, a firm but smooth press is more than enough for modern automatics to downshift and deliver the speed that you need without overloading the system. And remember, hard launches might look impressive, but they secretly chip away at your transmission's lifespan, and a rebuild isn't cheap. Number 8. Never drag heavy loads or tow incorrectly. Automatic transmissions are especially vulnerable when towing or hauling heavy loads, especially if it's done incorrectly. One of the biggest killers, towing with the drive wheels still on the ground without disengaging the transmission. Now, this can happen if you tow a car in gear or in neutral without using a flatbed or the correct dolly setup. Even in neutral, internal components can spin without proper lubrication, generating heat and causing severe wear. Another major stressor is overloading. Whether it's a truck bed piled too high or towing more than the vehicle's rated capacity, the extra weight forces the transmission to work harder, generating excessive heat and straining the torque converter and cooling system. Overheated fluid can quickly lead to slipping gears and eventual failure. And don't forget mismatched tire sizes on driven wheels, a surprisingly common issue on trucks and SUVs. Different tire circumstances mean the transmission and differentials constantly compensate, causing unnecessary friction and wear. Even seemingly harmless habits like rocking a stuck vehicle back and forth, rapidly shifting between drive and reverse, can destroy clutch packs and planetary gears in minutes. The safe habit. Always check your vehicle's tow rating, use the correct equipment, and never tow drive wheels on the ground without following manufacturer procedures. Smooth driving, proper weight distribution, and adequate cooling are your transmission's best friends. Automatic transmissions, they're marvels of engineering, quietly handling thousands of shifts over their lifetime. But only if you treat them right. Every bad habit that we've covered today, from shifting into park while moving to towing incorrectly, chips away at its health and shortens its life. The truth is, most transmission failures aren't the result of some mystery defects. They're the results of heat, stress, and neglect, all of which you can control by avoiding these mistakes and sticking to smooth, steady driving. So, the next time you're attempting to launch from a stoplight or tow just a bit more than the rating says, remember, those few seconds of thrill could cost you thousands in repairs. And if you found these tips useful and you want more no-nonsense car advice that saves you time and money, be sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. And let's hear from you. Have you ever ruined a transmission by accident? Drop your story in the comments section down below so we can learn from it. Drive smart, drive safe, and we'll see you in the next one.